I still remember the smell of cheap detergent and the feel of cracked sidewalks under my sneakers that Tuesday afternoon in Harbor Springs, Ohio. My name's Malak Carter, 35 years old, born deaf, living with cerebral palsy since I took my first breath. My life had a rhythm, only I could hear the vibration of a refrigerator against the kitchen floor, the tremor of a passing bus through my bones, the gentle tap of a pharmacist's fingers spelling out my name on the counter. That day, I just wanted to pick up my mom's heart medicine. I'd been doing that every Tuesday for years. I didn't see the black and white cruiser parked across the street, didn't feel their eyes following me as I limped toward the pharmacy door, paper slipped soft from my grip. Inside, the world was calm, antiseptic air shelves of aspirin, Dave the pharmacist with his tired smile and his silly tradition of slipping me a lollipop. For a moment, everything felt normal. But outside, two cops were sitting in that cruiser, Sergeant Dale Keegan and rookie partner Travis Monroe. Keegan was one of those guys who saw the world as predators and prey. In his mind, a black man walking unsteady meant drunk, high a threat. Travis sat silent, copying the older man's posture, waiting to prove himself. I walked out with the small white bag, still feeling Dave's nod. And there he was, Keegan, blocking my path, his shadow falling across the sidewalk. His mouth moved angry and fast, but I only felt a low hum in my chest. I gestured to my ears, shook my head. Universal sign for I can't hear you. He saw defiance. My smile nervous and polite, he read as a smirk. Don't you shake your head at me, he barked. Vibrations hit harder, my stomach tightening. I stepped back unsteady and he snarled to his partner. He's a runner. Then it happened fast. He lunged, grabbed my arm like I'd insulted his badge. My muscles tensed and jerked. It happens when I'm scared. But to him, it looked like I was resisting. Stop resisting, he shouted, twisting my shoulder till something popped. My bag fell, pills scattering like tiny white birds across the grimy sidewalk. Travis pinned my legs while Keegan slammed me against the brick wall, his breath hot against my neck. I tried to sign help, but my hands were trapped. I tried to breathe, but the pressure was everywhere. Across the street, a 16-year-old named Andy Vu was supposed to be filming trains for a school project. His phone shook as he swung it toward us. He didn't just hit record, he hit go live. The screen filled with my body pinned to the wall, the two uniforms, their voices barking, my silence deafening. For a moment, it was just a few viewers, then 20, then hundreds. Next thing I remember was antiseptic hospital, my mom's face pale and trembling, my Uncle Roger standing by the window like a granite statue. Roger had worn a badge himself for 3 decades, knew the code of silence, knew the way the system protected its own. Seeing me in that bed broke something inside him he'd kept hidden for years. He squeezed my hand and I wrote on a whiteboard, why nobody could answer. Not yet. But outside those hospital walls, the town had started to answer for me. Andy's live stream was everywhere. People saw the video, saw me gesture to my ears, saw me collapse under fists and elbows. By the second night, the pharmacy sidewalk was covered with flowers and handmade signs. Justice for Malik. Deaf Lives Matter. Folks I'd never met were holding candles. Steel workers standing next to college kids. Old church ladies handing out coffee to young mothers with strollers. Harbor Springs had been split by invisible lines for years. That week, those lines blurred. Inside the police department, panic and denial. The chief stood before cameras flanked by uniforms, saying rapidly evolving situation, non-compliant individual, full investigation underway. But people had already seen the truth. The press conference poured gasoline on a fire. By Friday, over 1,000 people filled the street outside the station. Vibrations from their chants rolled like thunder up the walls. I couldn't hear them, but I could see their faces on TV shouting my name. For the first time since the attack, a tear slipped down my cheek, not pain, but gratitude. Uncle Roger knew better than to trust the system. Late one night, he slid a small hard drive across a diner table to a reporter named Samira Holmes. On it, every buried complaint against Sergeant Keegan, young black men, with broken bones from routine stops, a Latina mom whose teenage son was called a thug, even a sworn affidavit from another officer about racial slurs. Roger whispered, "This isn't one bad day. This is a system." Samira plugged it in, her face changing as she scrolled. "Why now?" she asked. Roger stared out the window. "Because my nephew can't walk across town without being beaten half to death. Because silence is killing us." 2 days later, the front page exploded. Harbor Springs sergeant in viral video had long record of forced complaints. Every TV channel picked it up. Former victims spoke on camera, emboldened. The blue wall cracked. Travis Monroe, the rookie, hired a lawyer and started talking. Politicians called for an independent investigation. The protests surged again, no longer just about me, about all the people who'd never been filmed. 10 days after I'd gone to the pharmacy, the police chief came out gray-faced and announced both officers were fired. No badge, no pension. The crowd roared, not joy exactly, but release. People hugging, crying, holding up phones. For me, it wasn't an ending. It was a door opening, and I had to decide if I could step through it. Keegan went home to an empty house his wife had taken. The kids left her ring and a note saying she couldn't raise them with the man she now knew he was. That night, for the first time, he sat alone with the wreckage of his rage. And me, I started physical therapy, slow and brutal, to get my shoulder back. Strangers sent cards and donations. "We hear you, Malik." Your silence was heard. That kind of love can patch holes you didn't know were there. Months later, Roger and I sat on the porch watching the street where everything had happened. The protests were gone, but the hard work of change had started. A civilian review board, Justice Department investigators training reforms on paper. I wrote on my whiteboard, "Did you do the right thing?" Roger looked at me at the fading scars on my face. "A badge is supposed to protect people like you, not men like him," he said quietly. I erased and wrote again, "I heard you." We sat there in the quiet, a different kind of silence. Not fear, not isolation, connection. Across town, kids played in yards. Cars rolled by. Somewhere a hammer hit a nail. My world, still mostly silent, was now full of vibrations I could feel in my chest, a town finding its voice. But this story isn't just about Harbor Springs. It's about 1,000 towns where nobody's filming, 1,000 people who never make the news. It's about how a teenager with a phone, a retired cop with a conscience in a community too angry to sit still, forced a system to blink. Firing those two officers wasn't justice. It was the first brick pulled from a rotten wall. Justice is the hard, boring, necessary work that comes after the cameras leave. I'm still walking that path, still learning how to lift my arm without pain, how to cross a street without flinching. But I'm not alone anymore. And I know now silence isn't weakness. It's power if you refuse to let it be ignored. So I'll ask you, the person listening right now, what does justice look like to you? Have you seen a moment where someone underestimated the quiet kid, the disabled neighbor, the person who didn't fit the mold and got it wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell your story. Because every time you speak up, every time you stand with someone who can't shout you, chip away at that wall a little more. And maybe, just maybe, you help a town find its roar.